Hello and welcome into another edition of the Prep Zone on DMVSTREAM.COM. I'm Jeremy Huber, joined today by Marissa Pilla, rejoining us after last week. Yes. Also, the Washington Post, Brandon Parker, joining us today. And guys, another week of excitement in high school sports in the area.
Yeah. Had an ESPN televised games. You can't get much bigger than that, and a huge upset at that. So you never know what's going to happen in the DMV.
Yes, some big time stuff, Marissa.
Lots of great rivalry games, lots of great redemption games this past weekend, and a lot of great games that we're looking forward to this upcoming weekend. So I feel like every weekend in this area, there's always something to look forward to when it comes to high school sports.
Most definitely. It's always hopping in the DMV, as it were. Let's take a look at what we're going to be doing on the show today. Of course, lots going on, a lot of big-time games. You see them in front of you, of course, the one Brandon referred to, Gonzaga and DeMatha, and the ones Marissa referred to, like Stonebridge, Broad Run, rivalry games like that. Also, Good Counsel and McNamara, see Episcopal and Bullis. Also be previewing some games. You see Gonzaga on there twice. Not easy for the Eagles. They're going to be playing a tough back-to-back stretch there. Also, we'll hear from Josh Apple, our recruiting insider, as he interviewed Aiko Adams from O'Connell. Also, some other things coming up on the show today. So with that, we'll go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back with more of the Prep Zone right after this.
All right, joined by BJ Kumbarulis here, and it's a pretty simple question. For people that don't know, what is DMVStream.com?
DMVStream.com, the concept behind this project when we started this a few years ago was to be the primary source for streaming high school, college, some pros, athletics in the DMV, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And
I see where you got that.
Yeah,
there you
right?
go. That makes sense.
Pretty
right?
novel concept. And we originally when we started it out, bumps and bruises along the way, but we've gotten into a place now where we're in a rhythm. I mean, as a contractor and also as just an overall project, through our parent company, Synthesis Multimedia, we're hitting upwards of 175 events a year now, sporting events and others. So, we're really excited about the new studio that we're in today here for the Prep Zone, which of course you're hosting, and that is just another step forward in the high school sports arena. It's going to be a show with highlights, graphics, replays from the week, fast forward previews, analysts, coaches, all kinds of stuff, all related to high school sports in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia.
All right, thanks, BJ.
Thanks.
And welcome back into the Prep Zone. Time now for the Weekend Rewind, where we take a look back at all the big games from the weekend. And again, there were so many of them this week. Big rivalry games, big ones, but of course the biggest would have to be the matchup between number one DeMatha and Gonzaga, and the big-time upset. Brandon, talk about that big-time matchup as we got an upset there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hype going into the game with it being on ESPN, and, there are two big rivalries in Gonzaga and DeMatha. But, with the way DeMatha had played earlier on in the season, people figured it wouldn't be that close. But you see here's a guy that really changed the game, Max Fisher. He, easily had his best game of the year, and this angle doesn't even do justice to the catch that he did. He pulled it in one-handed, had 2-3 guys on him. The way that he was able to spread the field really opened up things for Tyree Randolph, who really beat DeMatha at its own game, pounding the ball, really explosive, really strong after the first contact. And, the way DeMatha, they make big, quick strikes, big, quick plays, and this is one of them with Lorenzo Harrison. I thought he was down. I looked down, and the next thing I know, he's cutting back the sideline, looking like Reggie Bush there. But, once that was the first touchdown of the game, people thought, okay, here we go. They're going to take over. But Gonzaga stayed composed, and really penalties killed DeMatha. They outgained Gonzaga, but just they were helping them move down the field with the penalties, and that hurt them along with turnovers in the end. But great game, great effort by by Gonzaga. And again, this guy, Max Fisher, is somebody you really got to watch. They can, catch him downfield. They can get him on short plays across the middle. And I think he's a big big component of them going forward in the WCAC.
Most definitely, and obviously kind of made their presence felt with that big win. Also, a game to watch from the weekend, a big one, a rivalry game. Marissa has this one. It was Stonebridge taking on Broad Run.
Yeah, it was the Battle of the Burn in Ashburn, and such an amazing game. This game always really brings a lot of hype. Both teams get very excited to play each other, and this year was no different. So it took place on Saturday, and Stonebridge was without starting quarterback Joe Thompson, who was injured, but that didn't stop them from dominating the whole game. That was in large part to the running game, mostly from junior running back Joshua Brees. He put on practically a clinic during the game, rushing for over 170 yards. Now, after the game, he said because Thompson wasn't in the game, he knows the offense isn't as dynamic, and he felt like he really had to step up. And he did pretty much that. He finished with 40 carries for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. And after the game, oddly enough, he said he wasn't even tired. He could run behind his offensive line all night. Now, one of his offensive linemen, senior Andrew Vistardis, said that after the game he was going to go to IHOP and get some pancakes because he worked hard on that game. So lots of people were very excited over this win, and as you saw, Stonebridge beat Broad Run 27-13. So an exciting game, lots of players stepping up in the quarterback's absence. As I mentioned before, Joshua Brees really just making that offense more dynamic. Even though they're missing their leader out on the field, it's not really felt performance-wise. So a great game.
And you talk about carrying the load. Brees, 42 carries in that contest. He had 68 overall, so they were running the ball most definitely. But Brees, not the biggest guy, but he was definitely carrying the load in the contest.
He makes a big impact for his size, definitely, and definitely helped that team really just explode offensively.
Let's get to our third game of our weekend rewind, and that would be another WCAC contest. Brandon has this one, as it was Good Counsel and McNamara playing one down to the wire.
Yeah, this was another one that didn't really go how people expected. You know, Good Counsel having the history that they have, a strong team again this year, you figured that they were going to control this game. But, you know, McNamara started off strong. We'll get back to this play that starts it off. But Ramar Williams, you know, really controlled the tempo for McNamara as a quarterback. He's explosive. Good Counsel coach Bob Malloy said he was worried about them, you know, the whole time. And this is what you figured Good Counsel was going to do all game, just run on them, pound the ball. But that was really one of the few big plays that they had. As you'll see, you know, McNamara had 3 interceptions, so they really shut down that phase of the game for Good Counsel. And I think that, you know, dictated things. But Lamar Williams got hit on the shoulder in the second quarter, and when he went out, that totally changed the game. Good Counsel asserted themselves in the second half. They started getting open in the run game. You see, you know, this was right before halftime where McNamara went up 21-7. But after that, things just changed, and then it ended up Keandre Jones. You saw in the first highlight, poor kid, he had no chance when Keandre Jones was coming on that punt rush, and he blocked the punt. That was with 20 seconds left, and that was the game winner. And actually, funny thing was, he wasn't even in the play to begin with. Bob Malloy had to call timeout, and he said, "Oh man, we got to get Keandre in there." That was it. That's the play right there. And I love watching this kid play. He's a vocal leader. He's passionate. He's a great recruit for the Maryland Terrapins, and he's a difference maker. You know, he's quick. He's explosive. He's worked well in coverage. He's going to get bigger. I think he's going to be playing on Sundays. So, you know, it was a fun game to watch. But even Malloy said if Ramar Williams doesn't get hurt, I don't know if we win that game. So Good Counsel escaped in that one.
And really a huge win for them because they still have Gonzaga and DeMatha left on the schedule.
Right.
So kind of control their own destiny for that top seed in the WCAC. We'll see exactly what they're able to do as they move forward. But again, it's good to have those in your back pocket.
Yeah, it doesn't get easier for them.
Yeah, but at least they have their own fate kind of in their own hands.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at more of the weekend rewind right after this. Welcome back into the Prep Zone. as we continue with the weekend rewind, as we take a look at more of the big games from the weekend. So many of them throughout the DMV. Let's get it over to Episcopal and Bullis. Marissa, you have this one, a IAC rivalry matchup.
Yes, and this was a really exciting game. Talk about star players of the game. This was the Patrice Rene show. He was everywhere, and he really exploded during this game. He did it all, diving catches in the end zone, and he even extended short passes for touchdown runs. So he's such a big presence. He really makes himself known out there on the field, and Rene scored 4 of the 5 touchdowns for Episcopal as they defeated Bullis 34-12. Now, Rene acknowledged that his team is not a running team, so this might have caught Bullis off guard, or a passing team rather, might have caught them off guard, preparing more so for the run game, and all of a sudden he comes out and just plays phenomenally. So maybe that was part of their plan, but he's listed as a cornerback as well on the team's roster. He has committed to Rutgers, but Saturday's showing really proved that he can be a force to be reckoned with on both sides of the ball. So Episcopal remains undefeated this season, improving to 5-0, and now they are 2-0 in conference play. So really great game from Patrice Rene out on the field.
Yeah, and you look at the numbers there, and you talked about being a dual guy. He can do both things. He's a really good cornerback, but as much athleticism as he has, obviously shown that on the offensive side.
Yes, and just because you're fast, you can be a corner, doesn't necessarily mean you can catch. Sometimes they always say, just put the fastest guy in corner, and who cares if he has good hands or not. But this showed that he has great hands. He not only just caught balls that were thrown at his numbers, but he was diving for plays, and he was really extending plays as well for Episcopal. So quite an athlete.
Yeah,
It might be a little shift in power there because Bullis has dominated the IAC, but like Marissa said, Episcopal's undefeated now, so that would be interesting to watch. But they're in the driver's seat, I guess, now.
Yeah, moving forward, really looking like that game against Georgetown Prep could be a huge one as we move along. Last game of the season, they thought it was going to be this game, but it could be the Little Hoyas and the Maroon facing off for that IAC championship. Let's take a look at another game of our weekend rewind. That would be a battle in Virginia between Madison and South Lakes. Brandon, you had that one.
Yeah, this was unexpected because, coming into the season, most people figured Madison and South Lakes would kind of be middling teams, but here they were battling for first place in Conference 6, and it wasn't as competitive as the game as some people thought it would be, and a big reason for that was Jason Gastrock, the quarterback at Madison, was real efficient, short passes, but mostly down the field throws to Jordan Ebersol. That connection, they've been playing together for 3 years, and the chemistry showed. Just Ebersol's ability to get down the field, and Gastrock hit him, perfectly. You see right here, boom, right, right in stride, man. That's exactly how you want it. And South Lakes, they're a quick team. They're probably a little bit smaller than Madison, so you figured Madison might be more methodical and pound the ball, but I think they might have caught him off guard with the way that they passed the ball. And Gastrock also, he can run as well, so just that dual threat ability, I think, threw off South Lakes, because Madison scored 31 points in the first half and never looked back after that. So they had a really tough year 2 years ago. They only went 1-9, but they've really worked and kind of built a strong nucleus around Gastrock and some of their experienced guys. And I know they spent a lot of time in the weight room so that they could protect their quarterback this year. So they're a team to watch. They're high in the power ranking standings right now for Virginia, and the team you definitely have to reckon with. So, there's a lot of parity in Virginia this year, so you never know what could happen with a team like Madison that comes up.
It's interesting. Lenny Schultz, their coach, I talked to him after the game, said, hey, because of what South Lakes did, we kind of had to go some different things with Gastrock, some read option as opposed to our power run game.
Right.
It seemed to work really well for them.
Yeah, and the fact that they have the option to do that, a lot of teams, they just have to stick with what they have. But, based on their matchups, the fact that they can switch up, I think that'll do them really well come playoff time when they see different teams each and every week.
And remember, they got that win over Stonebridge earlier in the season, so that's big for them. Obviously, a confidence-building win for the Warhawks early on in the campaign. Our final game of the weekend rewind, that would be a Montgomery County matchup between Northwest and Quince Orchard. Marissa, you had this one.
Yes, this was a redemption game. So Quince Orchard had basically a year's worth of anger built up in them after they lost a heartbreaking game to Northwest last year. Now, they kind of got their redemption basically through the run game. They used a 1-2 punch of Marvin Beender and Sean Barlow. Now, while Northwest got on the board first, Kings Orchard was not deflated and fought back with 3 unanswered touchdowns. Now, Beander finished with 20 carries, 191 yards, while Barlow had 119 yards on 19 carries and 3 touchdowns. And the way they used them was Beander would pretty much get the long yardage, and then Barlow would just be there to just punch it in for the touchdown. Now, both left the game around like the mid-third quarter, just with cramps, nothing to worry about, but it's great to know that their team was able to keep Northwest scoreless in the fourth and hang on to that 28-7 win. So a great win, got a little bit of redemption on their plate right now, so it's got to feel good to get that win right now.
Yeah, most definitely, and obviously with we see Sean Barlow, their top performer in that matchup, again had the touchdowns, but of course Beander had himself a big game as well. The interesting thing here is between those two teams, probably both going to make the playoffs in 4A West, but the Quince Orchard may be playing for that top spot while Northwest kind of struggling in the bottom part of things, a place they're not used to ever winning so many state championships.
With them being the 2-time defending champs, and it's kind of like what I said in Virginia. There's a lot of parity, and a lot of it's the way the regions are stacked up. So once you come playoff time, you never know what's going to happen. But yeah, Northwest. I mean, it's tough to keep winning year in and year out like that, but you can't sleep on them. But like you said, a good redemption win for Quince Orchard for sure.
Most definitely. Obviously, Quince really wanted that game. They get it this week against Northwest. We'll be back with more of the Prep Zone right after this.
That's not easy to do. Even rolls your right is right. Ready to come out to 4. 1 and out to 4.
Daniel Joe who goes down with a right ankle injury. He kind of limped.
Flat, hold down. It'll be number 82, Joe Jordan. Terrible. Yeah, he did. Pass rush. You know, they had to run the ball a ton. 69 receptions a year ago. And averages, was unable to track that foot. You know, one of these many tackles for loss. Guy who'll be a run down. And then this game tonight, they want to head back to Poughkeepsie at 500 as well. Yeah, absolutely. You got to be fundamentally sound when this defense gets after it. They just got to do it. You're obviously a guy, a ball hawk back to.
It was a major point of emphasis for us. Again, also we need to be a better third down situation.
So much spread. And there's finally a handoff. Calhoun's going to get to the
Welcome back into the Prep Zone. Of course, we had our recruiting insider, Josh Apple, had a chance to catch up with one of the top players in the area on the basketball court. That'd be Bishop O'Connell's Aiko Adams.
What do you hope to bring to the school to help lift that program?
Just come in, be a team player, just do what I can to get a win, or just do what I can for the team, just to help the team.
Well, what do they get when they get Aiko Adams on the roster?
They get a hard player. He work hard. I think they get a good leader. I think I communicate well on the floor and off the floor. So I think they're gonna get a lot of that.
And you had 10 offers, a lot of local schools like George Mason, George Washington, ODU's not too far away, some further away as well, like Louisiana Tech and DePaul. You actually canceled some of your upcoming visits because you were so sure about Rice. Why do you think that was?
I just felt, everybody kept telling me, if you feel it, just do it. So I went there and I felt it, and I felt good about the program, man. I committed on the spot.
What other programs did you visit?
I visited ODU.
That was the only one?
Yeah, that was my only official year.
Okay, great. So you pretty much, you got to Rice and you knew right away that Houston, Texas was your new home.
Yeah.
All right, you're also a member of DC Thunder, the AAU team. That helps you prepare for, the winter season with O'Connell. What does that extra competition do for you?
Oh, AAU circuit is great. You playing against the best players, so you get all exposure from the college coaches. So I mean, it's good.
And going back to last season with O'Connell, you guys got off to a really strong start, 12-0, but you finished 20-11 total. Kind of hit a losing skid there at the end. You lost 6 of the last 7 games. What happened there at the end?
I can't say. I mean, I think we tried hard. We work hard. I mean, I guess we just fell short in a couple games. Couple games was close games. We was just a young team, but that's not an excuse. But
Well, seeing your highlights here again, and clearly it wasn't your fault. You you were getting into the paint, getting a lot of baskets there. Certainly as a first-team All-WCAC performer. This year, give us a quick scouting report of the team. I know it's a young team, just 2 seniors, including yourself. What do you expect from the team this year?
yeah, definitely.
To see more of Josh's interview with Aiko Adams, as well as my conversation with Josh about Lake Braddock running back Lamont Atkins, you can see that by going to DMVSTREAM.com. Now time for our weekend preview. 3 games we're going to take a look at. 3 exciting matchups for the weekend, and should be some good ones there. And of course, our first one up, it's a team that we touched on, actually 2 teams we touched on in the weekend rewind. That would be the matchup between Good Counsel and Gonzaga.
Yeah, like you said, it's good to get those wins when you can, because they're playing each other right now again. You know, 2 weeks ago, if you asked me about this game, I'd say Good Counsel would control it. But based on last week's events, a lot changed. And I think the key is going to be the turnover battle here, because last week Gonzaga forced 4 turnovers, and that helped them get short field advantage and score really quickly. And last week, Good Counsel struggled with those turnovers. And in that game, you see some highlights from St. John's. They also struggled with turnovers there. But defensively, I'm sure they're going to be watching that DeMatha film and trying to see how they can stop Max Fisher, stop those quick throws. And they've got, you know, strong defense led by Keandre Jones at linebacker. So, you know, Gonzaga's going to be riding high, and I think they opened up a lot of people's eyes with the way they played last week. And if Tyree Randolph, the way that he's so compact, so strong, you know, close to the ground, if he can get going, I think they can control this game, and Gonzaga can, again, build a stronger way to having the top seed in the WCAC playoffs.
Yeah, obviously between these 2 games, this one could be a pivotal matchup between the 2 squads. Our player to watch in this one is Kyle Taylor, the standout linebacker.
Yeah, I can't forget about Kyle Taylor. We talk about the linebacker on the other side and Keandre Jones, but Kyle is the leader of that defense, and he's, again, really vocal like Keandre. He's going to Iowa, and he had 2 fumble recoveries last week, and he's all over the ball, knows for tackling, so he's one to watch too.
And of course, we'll make our picks here on the Prep Zone for these matchups. And
no hiding.
I know I went with Good Counsel just because I thought this has all the makings of a classic trap game for Gonzaga, and the fact that you're so sky high after that win, can you get back up for the next one?
That's a very good point. Yeah, and then you wonder if, again, Good Counsel is wondering, I got to count my blessings for winning that last week game against McNamara. So I picked Gonzaga just probably because they're riding so high off of that, but you know, that's a good point. It could be a trap game.
You, Marissa?
I picked Gonzaga as well, just because it's such a confidence boost coming off of that weekend game that I think it's only going to play in their favor. I don't think they're going to get too high on it, and I think it can only be a positive for them. So hopefully I'm right. I'm going to go with Gonzaga.
Well, we'll see. It's going to be a good game no matter what, as 2 good WCAC teams will face off. 2 good teams in Maryland facing off as well, as it'll be a 4A East matchup between Paint Branch and Sherwood in a game that really could be a really exciting one, Marissa.
Yes, they're both 2 undefeated teams going head-to-head as Paint Branch travels to Sherwood on Friday night. Now, both of these teams have put on amazing performances so far this season. Both have very dynamic teams, very versatile teams. But I think I'm going to have to go with Sherwood on this, mostly due to Travis Levy. He's really outstanding to watch. He's just so much fun to watch, to see his highlights. He's just awesome. The junior running back has over 1,050 yards this season on 131 carries. He's getting a lot of action, not to mention 15 touchdowns. So I'm not saying he's the sole reason why Sherwood is going to be dominant, but it's got to be hard for an opposing defense and opposing team to really prepare for him, and then not only him, but everything else a team can do, because he's a lot to handle.
Yeah, obviously a good player for them.
Yeah, it sounds like it could be a shootout, because I know Paint Branch has a strong, explosive offense too. So the defense better be ready, you know, both sides for those teams. But I got Paint Branch winning in a shootout. I think they've got a little bit more firepower to win that game.
Travis Levy, the guy you talked about, Marissa, pretty good stats for pretty much a little over half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, anytime somebody is rushing for over 1,000 yards, kind of midway through a season. It's just pretty incredible and how many attempts he's getting. So obviously the team really trusts him, really puts a lot of faith in him, knowing that he can make those big plays when they need him to, and that he can also just be a consistent yard getter for them.
And this graphic here, you see how they kind of line up. Paint Branch, Sherwood, top teams over there. We'll see exactly how things go between the two. Of course, Sherwood, their loss coming in a forfeit for not from on the field. So obviously, you've almost got two unbeaten teams in this matchup, even if they're not technically
exactly.
unbeaten.
We know the truth.
Let's get our last one to look at in our weekend preview. That's a long time rivalry in Virginia that's kind of lost a bit of luster this year. That'd be Westfield and Centerville.
Yeah, Centerville's down. You know, there's no way around it, and understandably so with all the talent that they lost. But you know, Westfield's not quite the same as they've been either. Defensively, they're really strong and sound, and they've had 2 consecutive shutouts. They've only allowed 14 points lost across the last 4 games, and that's impressive being that their best defensive player, and Jack Clancy, is out for the year with a knee injury. So Centerville, even though they're down, offensively, they've got firepower with this running back who's emerged, Julian Garrett, and alongside Kyle Richborg, he's a really explosive running back. He can catch well out of the backfield. So, Westfield's defense is going to have its work cut out for it. And just the fact that it's a rivalry game, even though Westfield's favored, and that's my pick, you can't count out the fact that the schools are going to be heated, the crowd's atmosphere is going to be great. So because of that, I think it'll be closer than maybe on paper what it looks like it should be, but I think Westfield's defense will make the difference in the end.
And of course, last week you talked about that dominant performance, held a good Robinson team to no points. Of course, they only scored 3 points
exactly.
in the matchup.
That's the thing. Offensively, you wonder, do they have enough to get going? And I know they had some guys that were suspended. They're just getting them back. But yeah, that was an interesting score, 3-0. Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to Coach Simmons after the game and kind of said this is like that old Redskins Jets game from a few years ago, the 3-0 game. Not a pretty football game, but obviously he liked it last week as we're able to get the win. Our picks in this contest, I think we're all unanimous. We're going Westfield in this.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably have the same thinking. Just that they're on paper they're better.
They're just, you can't really deny it. And also, look at that mascot. That's pretty fantastic too. I didn't realize it was that great, so I'm more confident with my decision now.
Yeah, obviously a good one there and a good team. We'll see what they can do. Of course, you look at your Washington Post top 10 for the week. Damascus taking over the top spot. Any quabbles with that quickly, guys?
No, I mean they've blown out everybody they've had, and they beat a ranked team in Quince Orchards. Damascus did. They'll have a tough challenge in Seneca Valley, but we talked about Gonzaga Good Counsel. That's a game that Gonzaga could jump up if they win that game.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see as we roll through the season how this goes. But again, the Swarming Hornets on top of things in the DMV. So for Marissa, for Brandon, I'm Jeremy. You've been watching the Prep Zone on DMVSTREAM.COM.